Welcome to the BBC News at 10, our top headlines. Andy Burnham had his first cabinet meeting with his top team today as he outlines his plan to his cabinet ministers about the cost of living crisis. Also, we'll explain more about who is in his cabinet, and he also announced some measures to do with tax and energy bills. We'll be speaking to our political editor, Chris Mason, about Andy Burnham's first full day as Prime Minister. Also on tonight's programme, Zelensky sacks Ukraine's head of army forces tonight. We'll have a look and speak to our correspondent in Kyiv. Also, the man who got charged with murder over the murder of Anne Widdecombe will be appearing in court after using a weapon, a hammer, that ended her life. And Iran war, as people protest over the Iran war. Welcome to the BBC News at 10. I am Keegan Dobby, our top headline. Andy Burnham began his first full day as Prime Minister as he held his first cabinet meeting this morning with his ministers, outlining his plans. He outlined what he wants to achieve to his top government team to do with the cost of living crisis. He outlined his plans to help families and help businesses sort out high food prices and high drink prices in shops up and down the country. We will explain who's in his cabinet because we found that out earlier today and explain more. He also announced some messages to do with taxes, MAP and energy bills. We'll be speaking to Chris Mason, who's with me in a minute, but first this report from our political editor Nick Early has his 4.5 minute report. So we actually got live footage of how Andy Burnham's first cabinet meeting went with him and his top ministers this morning. Let's take a listen.
Thank you so much, colleagues, and congratulations first. Those of you who've taken new positions, thank you for stepping up to serve, and for those reappointed to your roles, please take that as a major vote of confidence in you. And we feel like a good team. That's certainly how I feel today. A good team that reflects the party, the country, all backgrounds. You know, I think we're going to work really well together. So thank you, everybody. We've got two items on the agenda today: the mission, the purpose of this government, and standards. And the two are linked because we will only deliver for people and make hope feel real for people if we are pulling ourselves together in the same direction, and we have a really positive working relationship, a sense of one team. And I've been speaking to the Cabinet Secretary as well, and we both agree that we also want to set the tone at the top in relation to our relationship with our colleagues in the civil service, in your departments, getting that working relationship right, and also making that feel like it's a one-team approach, everybody pulling in the same direction, respecting each other, because then we'll deliver more for the people we're here to serve and here to help. Life's hard out there, isn't it, at the moment? You heard me talk about the doorstep in Makerfield. We need to every day think, well, what can we do just to take that little bit of pressure off people's shoulders, just to give them that little extra sense that help is coming, so that they can have that bit of hope that things are getting better. And that's the mission that we've got to set ourselves together. And later in the discussion, I think it would be great to hear from all of you in terms of what your department can do around cost of living, because there are things that can be done, big and small, and it would be just really good to have that discussion. We need to be a cost of living government, and getting that cost of living down, looking at all possible ways of doing that. I talked yesterday outside in Downing Street about bringing back hope, and that's got to be us, isn't it? We've got to do that. We can do that, and we've made a start today. We made the announcement about removing VAT from household electricity bills. It's not everything, but it shows our determination to do something about people's living standards, and it kind of points the way for further measures that we hope to take that pressure off people. But also it comes with reprioritisation, and you'll have seen what I've said about digital ID. In these times in which we're living, we have to take a really hard look at what our priorities are, and if we're to deliver on the cost of living and reducing the pressure, then we've got to be prepared to reprioritise. We've got to show fiscal discipline. We've got to show that our commitment to the fiscal rules is real, and we're prepared to make difficult decisions. to that. I know you all understand that, but it's just crucial, isn't it? It will require us to be disciplined together and to make those choices together. But I know I've got a team who will back me in doing that, and I also have a Chancellor who will be looking over my shoulder all of the time in relation to that. But I will at this point, John, congratulate you on your new position, but wonder if you wanted
solve the cost of living, but it does indicate that we're offering better help, we're offering better hope, but we're only doing that because of the reprioritisation and the tough decisions that actually Rachel and the previous cabinet have taken to establish financial discipline, to enable growth. We build on that, and it's going to be a task for all of us to recognise that we need to look hard at our own budgets, and the reprioritisation does allow us to do more to relieve the cost of making life just a bit more affordable for people in the future, and to maintain the fiscal discipline. I mean, fiscal control is the first duty of any Chancellor. It is mine, and it is the fiscal credibility that gives us economic stability, growth, and national security for the security of our society. And so together we've got some big challenges, but to end Andy where you started, this is a powerful team that you've appointed. We are a team, we're a Labour government, and we will show that to be put together in the period.
boldly Labour, but prudently Labour as well. At the same time, that's the thing we've got to pull off. But you put it very well indeed, John. And we will seek to do more over the coming days, but always we will show how we are going to pay for it, what we are reprioritising, and that will be a theme that we will always come back to. So I think at this point I will ask our colleagues from the
eSIM, and how do I get one? Well, what you want to be using is an eSIM, which works just like a SIM card, but instead of a
So slightly less wobbly for the first bit at least, but back to wobbly vision at the end. Beth, it was interesting for the bulk of that. Prime obviously knew exactly how it was going to be framed, flanked by two women there. We've not really talked about the male-female split in the cabinet. It is about 50-50, but there has been a little bit of criticism that very few of those big roles have gone to women.
Yeah, look, I think there's...
Well, our political editor... Well, our political editor, Beth Rigby, is here with me at number 10. So his first full day behind his desk in the new job. His first announcement is VAT cut on electricity. On the face of it, sounds like a good one, but when you look at how the energy price is going to change over the next year, it might not be that much. But he's sending a message, isn't he, with his first announcement?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Jane. And look, Lucy Powell's coming in. Lucy Powell, are you happy to be Education Secretary? Yeah, and can you keep the party united? Thank you very much. We're going to have the cabinet coming in now, so we'll probably break off and see if we can...
I don't know if you could hear what she said, but to your question, you can keep the party united. She said, I will, I'm still deputy leader.
So,
and a thumbs up for
and a thumbs up for Education Secretary. But actually, I also think that Lucy Powell might have been forgiven for expecting that she might have become the Deputy Prime Minister as well in this reshuffle. There's another, it's Miatta, the new Energy Secretary, Miatta Fahnbulleh, coming out. There she goes in. She is one of Annie Burnham's key supporters, and she was someone that was advising him on economic policy. I thought she might go to the chief secretary to the Treasury as the number 2 in number 11, but actually he gave her a massive brief. He's given her the energy department. But yes, going back to Lucy Powell, she said there, it's my job to keep the party united, because there is a bit of fallout here, Jane, and she is the new education secretary. There is a bit of fallout because there was quite a brutal cull of all Starmer law lists. I looked at it last night, and the only person that survived in that cabinet that hadn't made it known that they would like Keir Starmer to set out a timetable for departure is Pat McFadden. All of the other cabinet ministers that are still in the cabinet, in maybe different jobs but still there, were people that let it be known that they thought that Keir Starmer's time was up. That said, Miliband, Yvette Cooper, John Healey has come back, Shabana Mahmood, and those that were truly loyal have all been turfed out. So
there is going to be bad blood over that?
Well, there was some bad blood this morning. If we go back to the announcement we started off talking about, Andy Burnham announcing this morning that he wants to cut VAT on electricity bills. It will save on average about 45 quid from the price capped Ofgem bill. But actually, as you said, given that the price cap rises over the next year, it's not that your bill's going to be lower, it's more that it won't go up as much as it might have done.
Instead of going up 150, it'll go up about 100.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, I mean, I think in the spirit of trying to give people a bit of help, that's clearly what he's doing. But in terms of funding it, I mean, it's about £800 million. And he said it will be, this is the PM, the new PM, said it'd be funded from scrapping digital ID cards. And no sooner had he said it, oh, sorry, we're going to have to break off because that is, Chris Bryant is the new Northern Ireland Secretary.
Yes,
it all happened very late last night.
West Streeting Defence, big job.
West Streeting, can the party unite in this cabinet? Isn't it a vicious cull of Starmer allies, sir? Oh. There you go. That's the defence. Oh my goodness.
Angela Rayner coming up as well, housing.
Angela Rayner, can the party stay united under Andy Burnham? Are you pleased to be back in housing? There she goes. I think she is pleased to be back in housing, by the way. I think that is the job she wanted. There was sort of talk about...
She was passionate.
Well, actually all her interventions have all been in housing and devolution in recent weeks. And this is Johnny Reynolds. Johnny Reynolds, can the party remain united, sir? Alex Norris, Justice Secretary...
and there was that also
the guy at the front is the AI minister.
Yeah,
and you've got
Kanushka Narayan.
Yes, very.
We're going to have more about Andy Burnham later on in the programme. We will speak to Chris.
When I said I was going to do politics differently, I meant it. So here I am. We'll have more with Andy Burnham, and we'll be speaking to Chris Mason a bit later in the programme next night. The man charged with murder of Anne Widdecombe was named Josh from Rotherham. He was aged 29. Not yet. No, they're trying to rush it away. They're trying to rush it.
So the man that was charged with murder of Anne Widdecombe yesterday, we have found out today that the man who murdered her used a weapon that was a hammer, and he used the weapon and hit the former Conservative leader 21 times with a hammer. We have a special report from Sarah in a minute. We will go after Sarah in a minute. We've got a report from her in a minute.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. Horrific new details were revealed today of how the former MP and Reform UK spokesperson Anne Widdecombe was killed in her own home. Prosecutors allege the 78-year-old was hit on the head with a hammer multiple times as she was having her lunch. Her body was discovered in her kitchen earlier this month. It came as the man accused of her murder appeared in court. 28-year-old British national Joshua Kerry was remanded in custody. And a warning that this report from our correspondent John Ray contains details of the attack that you may well find upsetting.
Sometimes the wheels of justice can appear to run quickly. This was the first of two appearances in separate courts within the space of an hour of the man accused of the murder of Anne Widdecombe. 28-year-old Joshua Kerry was arrested 2 days after the former Conservative minister was found dead at her home. The prosecution described the attack as being carried out with a ferocity of violence. In both courts today, the accused spoke only to confirm his name, age and address, and he sat impassively as the prosecution outlined their case. Police say the alleged murder was captured over the course of just 2 minutes by two cameras, one on Anne Widdecombe's door and the second inside her home in the Devon village of Haytor. Kerry is alleged to have attacked Anne Widdecombe in the kitchen of her own home as she was eating her lunch. The prosecution claims she was hit over the head with a hammer 21 times. Her body was then tipped to the floor, where it was discovered by her gardener 24 hours later. Anti-terror police leading the investigation have searched his home in Rotherham. Detectives are still looking for a motive, including a potential political connection. Miss Widdecombe was a well-known and sometimes controversial figure. The coroner, at an inquest into her death, which opened today, called her much loved and greatly missed. The trial of the man accused of her killing is scheduled to take place in June next year. John Ray, ITV News.
The new Prime Minister met with his new cabinet today and told
Tonight at 6, shocking new allegations emerge about the attack on former Government Minister Anne Widdecombe. Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. The man accused of murdering the former Government Minister Anne Widdecombe allegedly struck her 21 times on the head with a hammer during an attack at her home as she was sitting down having her lunch. Joshua Kerry, who's 28, appeared in court in London earlier today, charged with her murder. According to the prosecution, he travelled 265 miles to Miss Widdecombe's house, where a camera in her kitchen recorded the attack. Tom Simons reports.
After the discovery of Anne Widdecombe's body at her Devon cottage and the appalling revelation that she may have been murdered, it's taken just 13 days for the suspect to be brought to court. Joshua Kerry, wearing a police-issued tracksuit, was told he faced a single murder charge to be heard at the Old Bailey immediately. There was a hearing this afternoon.
He was answering to the Standards Committee.
That day, Anne Widdecombe had been due to make one of her regular appearances on a TV talk show. Channel 5 had been in contact the day before. She was eating her lunch at home in Devon when CCTV cameras captured a car arriving at her house and a man entering through the front door. It's alleged the defendant, wearing black gloves, hit her 21 times with a hammer before taking her wallet from her handbag and leaving. Prosecutors say it happened in just 2 minutes. A separate inquest began today. A pathologist has provisionally concluded blunt force trauma to the head was the cause of her death. Detectives will continue to investigate. They already have footage allegedly showing the defendant's movements. And Anne Widdecombe's house was equipped with security cameras, which captured an attack carried out, prosecutors told the Old Bailey, with a ferocity of violence. Josh Kerry was remanded in custody this afternoon. His trial won't begin until June next year. Tom Simons, BBC News.
Well, Dominic Kashani is at the Old Bailey where today's hearing took place. Dominic, it's shocking enough that Anne Widdecombe is believed to have been murdered, but the allegations about the attack are truly disturbing.
Fiona, I think there was a real palpable sense of shock indeed in court today. In both the court hearings today, Westminster Magistrates Court and here at the Old Bailey, with prosecutors outlined the allegations that Joshua Kerry now faces, and one can only imagine the awful scene that the gardener discovered. Miss Widdecombe's gardener was the one who discovered her lying dead in her kitchen. Throughout today's two hearings, Mr. Kerry was pretty impassive and calm. He spoke very clearly to confirm his personal details when asked in both the courts, and clearly understood the proceedings, but said nothing else. The timetable, I think, in this case is very important for people to understand. Given the nature of these allegations, there is this real question which counter-terrorism policing are still trying to drive through about whether there is a terrorism motivation or some other kind of political connection to the allegations that Mr. Kerry faces. The judge, by setting a trial date of next June and effectively no plea hearing before November, allows the police to continue that work, and I suspect those findings will take some months to become public, if indeed there is more to be said in this case. But for now, this case goes away and we'll be back in court in the autumn.
Dominic at the Old Bailey, thank you. The new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, held the first meeting of his cabinet today, after having removed many of Keir Starmer's top team from it yesterday. Mr. Burnham told ministers he...
How's it?
He travelled 265 miles to her home in Devon, where a camera in her home recorded the attack. Tom Simons was our top story tonight.
After the discovery of Anne Widdecombe's body at her Devon cottage and the appalling revelation that she may have been murdered, it's taken just 13 days for the suspect to be brought to court. Joshua Kerry, wearing a police-issued tracksuit, was told he faced a single murder charge to be heard at the Old Bailey immediately. There was a hearing this afternoon.
He was answering to the Standards Committee.
That day, Anne Widdecombe had been due to make one of her regular appearances on a TV talk show. Channel 5 had been in contact the day before. She was eating her lunch at home in Devon when CCTV cameras captured a car arriving at her house and a man entering through the front door. It's alleged the defendant, wearing black gloves, hit her 21 times with a hammer before taking her wallet from her handbag and leaving. Prosecutors say it happened in just 2 minutes. A separate inquest began today. A pathologist has provisionally concluded blunt force trauma to the head was the cause of her death. Detectives will continue to investigate. They already have footage allegedly showing the defendant's movements. And Anne Widdecombe's house was equipped with security cameras, which captured an attack carried out, prosecutors told the Old Bailey, with a ferocity of violence. Josh Kerry was remanded in custody this afternoon. His trial won't begin until June next year. Tom Simons, BBC News.
Dominic Casciani is with me. One can only imagine the scene after what was clearly a terrible attack.
Indeed, I think there's a palpable sense of shock in court today for those of us who heard this for the first time, which it was pretty awful to listen to. And I think you can't imagine also what it was like for Anne Widdecombe's gardener who found her body after repeated attempts by a journalist at Channel 5 and her PA to try and get in contact with her. I think there's something that we need to say also about why this is going to take so long now to play out. Some people will be thinking, why haven't we heard more tonight about the defendant, and why is this trial date set to June? It's really complicated. The police have said that they're still investigating about 800 lines of inquiry. They're still looking at whether there is a terrorism motive here or some kind of political connection. That takes time. I've been covering terrorism for many, many years, and when a counter-terrorism investigation is going on, they're literally delving deep into the lives of a suspect or defendant or people around them to try and understand their thinking. You're talking about gigabytes of data just going through a phone and trying to understand things.
Well, Josh will be back in court later this year, but his trial won't start until next summer. This 3-minute reports from Sarah Keith Jones. This is 3-minute reports. At some point, Jason confirmed anything with me, Jason said yes, we're going yet, but can't put it more on it. Well, let's go live to London, because Sarah Keith Jones reported on the stories that South Court were just has been for both appeals. Sarah, what is the mood like there tonight? Well, good evening, welcome to London, welcome to the court. I've been here since 10:30 in the morning, I've been here all day, I'm still here now to get more answers from people, but yes. Good evening here, Keegan, and you can see the mood here, it's very jubilant, and the mood here has been very saddened and very awful day, because there was a court appeal. Both took place half an hour. So the first one, and then we had a half an hour break, and the third one started in the afternoon. But people can't seem to understand why his trial won't start till next summer, but he will be back in his court, I believe, at the beginning. He'll be back at his court in the middle of October later this year, and then he'll be sentenced there, and then he'll have to, he won't be sentenced, he'll be sentenced at his trial next summer. But it is quite saddening to know that there was CCTV footage, and how saddened Westminster and MPs will be feeling about this tragic incident, and people don't seem to realise how scary and dangerous these sorts of things are. But again, Josh will be, the 29-year-old who lived in Rotherham, will be in his trial this summer. Sarah, thank you for Sarah Keith Jones for all Sarah, thank you. Next tonight, so next, President Zelensky has sacked Ukrainian top army commander after days of protests. The Ukrainian President Zelensky has sacked the country's commander-in-chief, Alexander Syrskyi. His departure comes just days after removal of Public Defense Minister, a move that triggered street protests across the country. So, again, Zelensky has sacked Ukraine's top army commander after days of protests.
Let us bring you more on our breaking news from Ukraine, because President Zelensky has sacked the country's commander-in-chief, Alexander Syrskyi. His dismissal comes just days after the removal of the popular defense minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, and that was a move that triggered street protests across Ukraine. Let's get more with our diplomatic correspondent, Paul Adams, who's in Kiev. Paul, tell us more. What's the latest on this?
Yeah, so this follows days of intense discussion and negotiation with President Zelensky, his chief advisors, and pretty much the entire top military brass. They were faced with an impossible situation. Having sacked Minister Fedorov, that triggered days of protest, which carried on even until this evening, with people demanding, one, that he reinstate Mr. Fedorov, and two, that he get rid of the commander-in-chief, Alexander Syrskyi. It did not seem at all clear until this evening what he was going to do, but he does appear to have bowed to that pressure. He has sacked General Syrskyi and put in his place a new commander-in-chief, Mikhailo Drapachy. He is much younger. He's in his 40s, much younger than General Syrskyi, and he's also, crucially, thought to be quite a close friend of the ousted defense minister, Minister Fedorov. In his statement just a short time ago, President Zelensky heaped praise on General Syrskyi. He said that he had been responsible for the defense of Kiev and for a number of key operations since then, including a counteroffensive in Kharkiv in 2022 and the operation inside Russia in the Kursk area in 2024. so he wasn't going to let him go without praising him. But he said that, you know, we have travelled a long road together, but he has clearly bowed to pressure to turn a page and appoint someone regarded as younger and perhaps more innovative. Interestingly, in his statement, he has also said that he has offered Mr. Fedorov a top position in the government. We don't know what that is, maybe some kind of advisor or a vice prime minister in charge of technological innovation. We just don't know, and crucially, we also don't know what Mr. Fedorov's response has been, although we do know that the ousted minister has this evening, just in the last 10 minutes or so, said that he is delighted at the appointment of Drapati as the new commander-in-chief.
And is it impossible that Fedorov would just be returned to his former job?
No, I don't think that's likely. There is now an acting defence minister, and there is no real suggestion that President Zelensky would reverse course completely and bring Mr. Fedorov back in where he was. I think there's a feeling that he can do the sorts of things he needs to do, that is Mr. Fedorov, in terms of innovation, technological advances, the promotion of drones, and all of that kind of thing, that he can do it in other ways, in other positions. And I think that's probably the last bit of the jigsaw that will be figured out, and perhaps we'll hear more about that in the next day or so.
Just remind us why this rift opened up more between these two key figures.
Well, according to President Zelensky, they simply couldn't work together. They couldn't even sit in the same room together. Now, in a lengthy op-ed in a military website, General Syrski said he was completely unaware that they had no functioning relationship. He thought it was all going fine, although he did, in quite a pointed way, suggest that his approach was essentially better than Minister Fedorov's. He talked about the need for a much wider approach, not just involving drones, but the entire panoply of the military. He said that having a vision wasn't the same as having a strategy. It was quite pointed, and you sense there was quite a bit of anger there. But so, faced with this rift, President Zelensky decided he had to sack one of them, or not reappoint Minister Fedorov. He chose to go down that path. The demonstrators who we've talked to on the streets of Kiev in the last few days have all said that that was the wrong choice, that pointed to a kind of an older version of the defense of Ukraine, one based on kind of old school tactics, Soviet-era military doctrine, and that Mr. Fedorov really represented the future of Ukraine's defenses, and they wanted to see that future ensured. They wanted to see the kind of innovations that he has promoted at speed continue, and I think they will be somewhat relieved to know that the person that he approves of as the new commander-in-chief is now going to be appointed. Whether that is enough to satisfy the crowd, who have been pretty vociferous in wanting to see Mr. Fedorov return to post, we'll have to see. I think if he accepts a position which is seen in the light of, in the eyes of those protesters, as one where he can wield genuine authority, then I think this crisis will be over.
How has this whole saga damaged the practical...
So the United States is ramping. The United States and Iran have traded.
So more about Zelensky second to speak to our correspondent Rebecca Purdue. Rebecca, tell us more about this. Yes, good evening, Keegan, and welcome to Kyiv. Well, tonight we understand that President Zelensky has sacked his top commanding army force chief member. When it comes after, like you said, days and days of protests, at least two they haven't messaged, phone call, email, letters, have done nothing in the first couple of days. These two can't even be in the same room together. They haven't been in meetings, they haven't been in meetings, they can't, when they're in the same room, it's awkward, it feels less, and a lot of people. So Rebecca, what happens next in this? So Rebecca, one more question for me tonight. What happens next? What will President Zelensky do next, do we imagine? Well, that's a very good point. We don't know what will happen next in Kyiv. We understand that in the next couple of days, Zelensky might hold meetings to find and appoint a new army chief person. We don't know yet. Sources tell us that he will have meetings in a couple of days, coming weeks, so we don't know yet what President Zelensky will do. Okay. That was Rebecca Ampadu about the situation. Next, US finally tonight. US launches first strikes on Iran. US military launches strikes again Iran to further decay capability.
The United States and Iran have traded attacks for a 10th consecutive night in the Strait of Hormuz. The US military says it has struck Iranian command centers, missile launch sites and air defense systems. Iran says it struck 2 oil tankers which are now on fire in the strait and targeted American military assets in Bahrain and Kuwait. For more on that, here's our Middle East correspondent Yolande now.
The general analysis that things could be going that way, as much as there have been continuing diplomatic efforts with the Iranian Interior Minister also going to Pakistan. Yesterday he'll be speaking to the Prime Minister there, and Pakistan of course has been a mediating country. But look, all that's happened since yesterday, we've now got the Jordanians also coming out saying that their armed forces have intercepted 5 drones last night and this morning that were launched at Jordanian territory from Iran. Iran's retaliation has really been focused though on the Gulf, Bahrain and Kuwait once again, which both have US military bases there. The Iranians saying that they have been targeting air defences and radar communications in particular. The Revolutionary Guards of Iran saying there are massive fires on these 2 tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. Certainly we're getting multiple reports about a projectile having hit 1 tanker 8 nautical miles off the coast of Oman, with the crew said to have safely disembarked from that vessel, making it into a lifeboat with no environmental consequences there. But what this really illustrates is that Iran is not loosening its grip on the Strait of Hormuz, and this is such a critical waterway. The US has said that the point of its strikes on Iran, which have targeted multiple Iranian cities overnight for the 10th night in a row, that the point is to degrade Iran's capability of attacking commercial shipping going through the Strait of Hormuz. It's insisting that there is still commercial shipping transiting the strait, but you can see that this is a much reduced level from before the war started at the very end of February, and of course with much greater risk to the vessels involved.
And Yolande, it's dangerous enough as it is, but now the Houthis, an ally of the Iranians in Yemen, have now threatened to blockade Saudi ports as well. What do you read into that, and how dangerous an escalation could that be?
Yes, I mean, what they're saying specifically is that they are going to close the Bab al-Mandab, which is another critical choke point in the region, to Saudi traffic. And since the war started with Iran, Saudi Arabia has really relied on its pipeline going to the Red Sea to get out millions of barrels of oil onto the world market. Now, in the past, the Houthis have already proven that they do have the ability to target vessels going through that important choke point in the Red Sea, between the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, and have attacked more than 100 vessels there during the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. But, you know, the Saudis are saying that the military will not allow this to happen. It is another really, you know, important spot of the Middle East that we now have to watch.
So how have you been, my friend?
The US military launches strikes against Iran. This report from Peter Saunders sends us this report from the Capitol tonight. Can I help?
Hi. How are you? I just wish there was a yellow L. I hope he arrives. And we need a pink L. And then that rabbit can't be in charge anymore. And he can start being referee. What do you think? Do you think that should be a big change? And Red Fire?
No.
Red Fire manager that wants to win things. There's probably tons of managers out there that want to push up and want to win stuff. How did you feel when you was manager in a proper league, like where we are now? What was the bad stuff? Official, can we do that talking another day? What day can we talk about it? It's up to you, innit?
Hey Mum. Oh yeah, great. Yeah. So when I was in goal, right, I did get a little bit of consistency because I thought I tried to save it with my hand and then it deflected off my knee and went straight in. Well, they only let 2 goals in. Look at the other goalkeepers, they let 1,000 goals in. I'm just looking at to save shots. Hey Mum, I even saved one that was right over the bar. I even had like a slight touch and it went right over the bar. Saved one from the cross. So. Okay, for first Peter Saunders on this. Our top story tonight, Andy Burnham began his first 4 days as Prime Minister when he met with his cabinet and top team ministers to discuss the cost of living crisis and what he will do. He also announced tax and energy bill issues as well.
Applauded into his first cabinet by those who've got a seat at the new PM's table.
I expect this every week.
Andy Burnham at pains to signal this government has a clear direction.
We need to be a cost of living government, and we've made a start today. We made the announcement about removing VAT from household electricity bills. It's not everything, but it shows our determination.
So what difference will the VAT cut make? The average energy bill is nearly £1,900 a year. That's made up of around £1,500 in usage, £315 of standing charges, and in total £88 of VAT charged on both gas and electricity. Today's proposals scrap it on electricity only and only until April, a saving of around £45. But as Martin Lewis points out, that will be partly offset by the expected rise in the energy price cap.
Effectively, you have a £45 reduction on a typical bill, but an increase of £25. So the actual amount people will feel in their pocket over those 6 months, there's some variable in this because some of predictions, is around £20. Now, I don't knock this. I think this is a really important totemic move and I welcome it. But if the government wants people to really feel the benefit, it's going to have to do more policy changes.
Samantha Moody is a primary school teacher who, like many, is struggling with energy bills.
As a single mum and as a single income household, I think every little helps. It's certainly not something that I would say no to, but it is a bit of a drop in the ocean. For me, as a single mum, £45 doesn't quite fill my car full of petrol and wouldn't get me a weekly food shop.
The money for the cut is supposed to come from scrapping Keir Starmer's plan to introduce digital ID, but that was shot down by Darren Jones, who was sacked as a minister yesterday and tweeted this morning, "The digital ID programme was unfunded. The government will have to set out how it will pay for its new policies at the budget." A fault line leapt on by the Tory leader.
We want to bring down the cost of energy for households as well as businesses, so it still falls short and it seems to not be funded. If Darren Jones says there's no money for it, Andy Burnham has got to go back to the drawing board.
It's one headache among many for the new Chancellor, who was reiterating today the need for discipline.
Fiscal credibility is the bedrock of economic stability and national security. We will meet the fiscal rules.
The new cabinet had tea together today, but not everyone in the party is feeling so sunny. And tough financial decisions can't be put off for long. Romilly Weeks, ITV News.
Well, that policy is aimed at shoring up the Labour vote and enticing people to switch away from Reform UK. Well, our Midlands correspondent Ben Chapman heard what voters think of the new PM in Nottinghamshire, which has a Reform-controlled council.
Much like Andy Burnham as PM, traders at Skegby Car Boot were setting out their stall this morning.
Any item £50?
Hoping to find favour with eye-catching reductions, much like this winter's VAT cut on electricity.
Hell of a good start. They made a good start with that.
Yeah, but how many times has it gone up in the last 2 years?
Where do we get the money from? Because we don't have a lot of money as a country at the minute.
I've got some you can have.
How much you got? That scepticism about how Burnham's promises will be paid for was a recurring theme here.
1 minute we're short of defence money, and next minute we're giving money away back to the general public with VAT, aren't we?
Do you think he is trustworthy? Sometimes that's an instinct.
I don't know him enough. He's just come out of blue, hasn't he?
So the jury's out a little bit.
Yes. He might be a good man, he might not be, but I think I'd leave it a bit longer to find out if he does anything.
This part of Nottinghamshire is one of those deindustrialised places Burnham's pledged to revive, and where Reform UK have made significant inroads.
25 years ago, it used to be buzzing. It was absolutely loads of businesses.
Tracy runs a street kitchen here and says he must deliver for towns like Mansfield, not just cities like Manchester. How do we pay for it all? Would you be willing to pay more tax?
Yes, I would, and okay, a lot of people most probably wouldn't, but if it meant getting our town back, I don't see why not, yeah.
There was enthusiasm here for Burnham's credentials.
Go on then, tell us what you think about Andy.
Chapman, ITV News, Nottinghamshire.
Well, let's return to our political correspondent Romilly Weeks at Westminster. Romilly, first full day of the Burnham government, but already the cracks are beginning to show, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, Mary. There is clear bad feeling amongst some about quite how many of those most loyal to Keir Starmer were sacked yesterday in the first act of Andy Burnham in government, 10 in total. And that's after Andy Burnham promised a more collaborative, we're all in it together type of approach. But the fact that that's showing already in public is really striking.
It's not just Darren Jones, though, who's poking holes in the government's plans. The Independent Institute for Fiscal Studies agrees that despite the government's claims to have fully funded this VAT cut, it's actually only by reallocating savings that have yet to be found. And if they want to fund it beyond April, then they've got to find a way of paying for that too. And that's really the question that's sort of looming over all of Andy Burnham's big plans. More defence spending, more council house building, reforms to social care. Not many people would argue with any of that, but he's got to find a way of paying for it, and he's yet to articulate that. However, compared to the early days of Keir Starmer's government, which were defined by that winter fuel cut for pensioners, there are many Labour backbenchers who are just glad that this focus on the cost of living is signalling a change of direction, at least.
Only Sky brings you.
The morning after a reshuffle that stretched late into the night, the same Labour.
Before I speak with Chris, I just wanna before I speak to Chris, we're gonna find out who is in Andy Burnham's cabinet before.
Why have you got 2 drinks?
He didn't take one down, did he? I'm gonna take one down in a minute. Before Chris joins me, we're just gonna find out who is in Andy Burnham's cabinet.
I'm picking 40 years.
Unpicking 40 years of decisions for a whole new top team. But what are the pitfalls of the people that he's chosen for the top team? Well, let's look at the most important one of all. Surprise as Chancellor John Healey. First elected as an MP in 1997, seen as a veteran safe pair of hands. Not as left-wing as Ed Miliband, as right-wing as Shabana Mahmood, the two names actually thought to be Chancellor. But the question for John Healey, when he was in the Ministry of Defence, he left a big black hole, didn't get a grip of the finances. Can he do a better job once he's in the Chancellor's chair? We will find out. And now this guy, he hoped to be the Chancellor, but isn't. Ed Miliband has ended up being Foreign Secretary. Some people thought it would be David, but the guy who helped Andy Burnham into number 10 has ended up in the King Charles Street. He could end up in conflict with the US. He stopped the US using Diego Garcia, argued against them being able to bomb Iran from our bases. His stance on climate change and drilling could mean he also comes into conflict with the Trump administration, so he could be a contentious choice with the US. Shabana Mahmood, Home Secretary, she fought a strong campaign to stay where she is. The challenge for her, of course, she's pushing through tough immigration reforms, which will now remain in place. Lots of people in the Labour Party hoped she would go in order that they could scrap them. No longer will that be possible. Louise Haigh, nobody did more to get Andy Burnham into number 10 than this person. She is First Secretary of State, which means that she's going to be at the engine room of this government, covering everything from the Cabinet Office, but can she keep a grip and keep the show on the road? She doesn't have a great deal of experience in government, so we'll see whether she is able to do that. Yvette Cooper, the surprise choice for Health Secretary. The former Foreign Secretary. It's a slight move downwards. She doesn't know the brief, but nevertheless is in a top role in a complicated job key to Labour's aspirations. Now, the final person staying in the job that they were in under Keir Starmer is Pat McFadden, but he is a reformer. Andy Burnham in the past hasn't wanted to take benefit away from claimants, so is he going to end up in sync with his boss? That's the challenge for him. Look at all of these names and the rest of the cabinet. What unites some of the big ones? They wanted to get rid of Keir Starmer more than anybody else, but the question is, can they inspire loyalty in their boss now they're in the jobs themselves?
Try me do it. No, but it looks like a fucking view at me.
Minister.
So everyone said, oh, we might as well throw game with.
Yeah, and you've got yes, very, very impressive. The industry. I did a dinner actually with the tech industry the other day, and they could not speak highly enough of him. He is an AI minister now attending cabinet, and then you had Johnny Reynolds back in business, and then you had Alex Norris, who is the Justice Secretary. And as I understand it, there was a bit of part of the reason that reshuffle went on very late into the night. Here's the new Chancellor.
Here he is.
John Healey, can the party unite behind Burnham? Is it a nest of singing birds, sir? In he goes. The new Chancellor, in he goes.
Twinkle in his eye there.
Yeah, he's very happy. Yeah, he's a very happy man. I'm not sure he expected that job, Jane.
He may be happy. It's a huge position, but he now has to actually make all the sums add up. Home Secretary.
Shabana Mahmood, are you disappointed not to be Chancellor? Happy with your job? I think she is quite happy with her job, actually. I mean, she likes being the Home Secretary, and she's effective at the Home as the Home Secretary. But going back to John Healey, I mean, for Keir Starmer, even though John Healey resigned over the Defence Investment Plan and caused him a world of pain, actually, for a Prime Minister that also wants to remain committed, a former Prime Minister, to Ukraine and defence spending, I think to have John Healey in as the Chancellor is really significant, because the reason John Healey resigned from government was because he said to Keir Starmer, you're not putting enough money in. There is not a clear pathway to 3% of GDP on core defence spending by 2030. It needs to get to 3.5% of GDP on core defence spending by 2035. And that's why he resigned. So he's now got to find all the billions of pounds that the Chancellor he clashed with, Rachel Reeves, couldn't. So for the defence industry, for the Ministry of Defence, for allies, NATO allies, for other fellow leaders, for President Zelensky, I think John Healey as the Chancellor is music to their ears, and I imagine Keir Starmer will be pleased about that. Are you happy to move to health? Are you happy to move to health? Okay. There goes, Yvette Cooper goes in. Yeah, I mean, going back to the speech yesterday, there were two elements of it, really. There was, I'm going to announce a 10-year plan for the country in the autumn. It reminded me immediately of Keir Starmer's decade of national renewal. I mean, there goes Pat McFadden. Pat McFadden, can Andy Burnham unite the party, sir? Pat McFadden, I mean, the survivor, he managed to keep on in what Department of Work and Pensions. Miliband, are you happy to be Foreign Secretary, sir? You not sad about the Chancellorship, sir?
Some cracking questions there.
He does. Also, he came out yesterday. I mean, I did chase him. He did not stop. But I
tried.
I
you didn't run into a lamppost, though.
I didn't run into a lamppost. A colleague of ours did run into a lamppost in the pursuit of John Healey, which is a dedication to journalism. Yeah.
Well, before we go now, we're just going to have a quick word with our political editor, Chris Mason. Chris, what a day for Andy Burnham. Good evening, Keegan. What a day for our brand new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham. He held his first cabinet meeting this morning. We had live coverage as we saw Angela Rayner, West Street, and Ed Miliband, John Healey, Yvette Cooper, Pat McFadden, Shamid Mahmood going in. They all went in this morning for their first meeting. The news that came out of that cabinet meeting was about the cost of living crisis and helping families and shops up and down the country, like we've been saying all day today. We also heard for the first time our Chancellor John Healey, who says he's going to do everything in his power to help the business work industry, help the economy grow, and hopefully that is the case going forward in this brand new government.
I just had enough of it. It's like a little rat.
What about the tax on energy bills that also has been announced by Anti-Venom Surveyors? The absolute corrections of the factors keeping this are the Venomous tax for a company and to help with increasing energy bills. A lot of sectors today have come out and spoken to media colleagues about some people are happy about what Anti-Venom is announced, some people are very unhappy about what he is doing. This is his first day as Prime Minister. Do you think, a final question, do you think some of the ministers are happy with their roles? I mean, Shah Mahmood, our Home Secretary, well, Miss Mahmood and Ed Miliband were both going for the Chancellor role, but unfortunately Joe Healy got that job. Angela Rayner is going to be in charge of housing. I think that's important for house sectors up and down the country. If it keep her health. Pat McFadden. I think it's an interesting announce, but Rachel Reeves and David Lemmy are out of the government. Okay, Chris Snap now. Thank you. Right, that is it from BBC News at 10. Thank you for watching. That's it from the late news team. I'll be back at some point tomorrow. I think I'm back with the BBC News at 6 at about 6:15 from us at the hot team. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye bye. Bye bye.